study estimates that diets high in red meat contribute significantly to colorectal cancer deaths. The GBD 2019 study attributed approximately 36,000 deaths worldwide to diets high in red meat, specifically linked to colorectal cancer.
You must go and see there will be 500,000 or 1,000,000 cattle in one place. There'll be not a speck of green because so many animals moving, full of dung and everything. All in sheds, sometimes they move them out for exercise and again back. On the highway side, if they're there a kilometer away, the kind of sounds they're making, it will churn your stomach because they're intelligent enough to know that they're going to be slaughtered. You can eat fish. Fish, that's why we call it as… in South India we call it as jalapushpam. This means it's the flower in the water. Because it behaves like plant life in your body, because it's so further away from your own genetic code. It is banned in many major states in the thing, and at the same time they've not touched this here is, in those states there is a huge emotion about that. There is no bond somewhere, it lives with you in the same house. So what is grown up with you, lived with you, shared life with you, you don't suddenly kill and eat it. Then you can as well eat your mother, what's the problem? I'm saying, what's the problem? It's good food. So I have taste for human flesh, how can you stop me from eating it?
For me, a vegetable is as alive as a chicken or a lamb or whatever else you eat.
That's so wrong.
It is not wrong.
Are you saying that a carrot has the same feelings as a chicken?
That's not the point. Feelings does not mean emotions. They are sensitive to life around them.
Yes.
You understand?
But you've killed it, you pulled it from the ground.
You pulled it from the ground, but it's not dead.
But
if you plant it, it'll grow.
You take such a high moral ground in terms of no meat eating whatsoever.
Food is not a morality. Food is a question of well-being.
So are you saying that I would be happier for the second half of my life without eating meat?
You will be calmer, more at ease.
But I am calm. I am.
I don't think the world thinks so about your calmness.
You wouldn't know, you don't have any televisions here. So, right. Let's agree to disagree, yes? Spud, potato, love it. Thank you. That was a lovely breakfast, thank you.
It's taken a long time, but you heard it here first. I'm calling a ceasefire with vegetarians.
If you're ever thinking of going vegetarian, then get to an ashram quickly, because that's the confirmation of how good it can be.
I think he's gesticulating much less than yesterday. Don't you notice that? His body movements are little…
First of all, I'm definitely more chilled out, there's no two ways about that. Yeah, it has been an experience.
The Guru has one final request before we say goodbye.
One day in a week, if you eat this kind of food, you would know the difference.
One day a week, and you'd think I'd notice a significant impact?
You will definitely notice that.
I can't believe you're saying that.
Huh?
Because just before I left for India, my wife was suggesting that the children go vegetarian.
See, she knows.
One day a week.
Start with one day, it'll be good. Try and see.
Right now, approximately 38% of India's population are pure vegetarians by, traditionally it's like that. Let's say about 50 years ago, nearly 60% were vegetarians, but Western-educated doctors have been telling people, if you don't eat meat, you won't get nourishment, you have to eat some meat. So, because of that, some meat has come in, but still in India, meat eating is not like how it's in the West. It is only a side dish. Even for non-vegetarian people, it's only a side dish. But why vegetarianism is, we see, if your survival is under threat, your entire life is about survival. Once survival is taken care of, now you wonder, what is this all about? Because when survival is in question, it looks like when your survival is fulfilled, everything is going to be great. But once survival is taken care of, you realize that is not the truth. Your life is longing for something else. So survival was very simple and easy, it was a rich land, people survived well. Because of that, they started looking inward and it started developing various things, and one important thing is, nearly 70% of the country's population was always actively spiritual. turning inward was an important part of life. Because of this, when they turned inward, they realized that what they eat matters. If you just want to be all beefy brawn, then you can eat lot of meat and just grow muscles and fight with each other. But if you're looking at how to become sensitive to life, how to become perceptive, how to be able to perceive things beyond what is considered normal perception, then what you put into the system becomes very important. So what is it that passes through the system with least amount of resistance, with least amount of struggle in the body? So to put this into perspective, let me put it this way. See, if you eat raw meat, for example, in the human system, compared to carnivorous animals, in all the carnivorous animals, the length of the alimentary canal is only 3 times the length of its body approximately. In all the herbivores, the length of the alimentary canal is 5 to 6 times the length of the body. So in a human being, it could be anywhere between 24 to 28 or 30 feet, which is nearly 5 to 6 times the length of our body. In this kind of alimentary canal, if you put meat, it will travel through this very, very slowly. Approximately, raw meat would take 70 to 72 hours to pass through the system. If you put cooked meat, it will take 50 to 52 hours to pass through the system. If you put cooked vegetable meals, it will take anywhere between 24 to 30 hours to pass through the system. If you put raw vegetables into the system, it will take 12 to 15 hours to pass through the system. If you put fruit into the system, it will take 1.5 to 3 hours to pass through the system. So, we started recognizing what is that food which happens in the body with least amount of residue, least amount of impurities and passes through the system very quickly, because in yoga this is an important thing, we all manage this even now. If we eat anything, within 2.5 hours we must be hungry, our stomach must be empty. But we won't eat. Stomach is empty, but we're energetic, so we don't eat. So generally, here in the yoga center, everybody does only 2 meals. One 10 in the morning, 7 in the evening, that's it. I do only 1 meal most of the days. If I'm traveling, I may do something else a little bit, but otherwise generally if I am home, I do only 1 meal. So
is that in the morning or the evening? I'm just curious.
Generally for me it is 4:35 in the evening. It'll keep me going the entire 24 hours. It's not like a rule. It is just that is the need. So suppose there is a lot of physical activity on a certain day, then you may eat a small breakfast or you may eat a fruit or something like that. Food is not to be made into a philosophy or a kind of a religious process. Food is the requirement of the body. If we watch the body, with what sort of food the body is most happy, body is most at ease, you will naturally notice vegetarian or plant-based food, body is most comfortable and is at ease. It is flexible, it is at ease, it has less to process on a daily basis. So, naturally, those who observed the nature of their own bodies naturally became vegetarian. When survival was a question, hunting and eating whatever you kill was a natural process. But once society settled down, they could grow what they want. As they observed themselves more and life became not about survival, but about enhancing one's life to higher levels of perception and experience, then turning vegetarian will naturally become… It's a natural process, it is bound to happen everywhere.
As is known that the majority of population in the state of Meghalaya is that of beef eaters, with the government banning consumption of beef in mainland India, people have an idea that the government is trying to control the very food habits of the citizens of a democratic nation. If beef is to be banned because of religious reasons, isn't it against the idea of secularism? And if it is for the environmental point of view, as you said, why not mutton ban or chicken ban, which are also reasons for greenhouse gas emission?
Well, let me change one aspect of the question. Nobody ever uses mainland India. That's only mainland China.
Okay. Rest of India.
This is also mainland India only. The reason why it is banned in many major states in the thing, and at the same time they have not touched this here, is
In those states, there is a huge emotion about that. Democracy, you talked about secularism. Democracy is always about considering the concerns of the people. When there is such a big emotion, it's better you take that into thing. And everybody thinks this law came in the last 4 years. No, this law has been there since 1950. So this has been the way we have been running the country. We make a law and we don't have the courage to implement it. Now some hothead on the street, he decides to enforce the law. When mob tries to enforce the law, it will happen in cruel ways. It will happen in ridiculous and in archaic ways of doing things. So this is something we must decide. If we make a law, do we have the courage to implement the law? Do we have the means to implement the law? Otherwise, better there is no such law. So now, in the major states, if you do not implement it, there will be backlashes, there will be violence. So implement it, there is some kind of grouse happening, a small group of people. It's better to manage them rather than create a on-the-street battleground, okay? You don't want that right now because we are poised for economic development. Everything is being done to see social unrest doesn't happen. So here traditionally, see even in India, this is a very gender-biased law. You can only not slaughter a female cow. You can slaughter a bull, you can slaughter a buffalo. Look at this, gender discrimination. You can slaughter me but not you. Only cow protection because in this culture, this is a pastoral culture, where we have an understanding. Now it's different, but in the past, if there is a bad agricultural year, if there is a famine, we used to have serious famines in this country, if there is a famine, if I have 2 cows in my house, my children will live. You don't have cows, your children will die. This is a wisdom stuck in people's minds. So when because of my cow, my children lived, I worship this cow because this is the source of my life and my progeny. So there is a very deep engagement with the cow, in the sense when I was growing up, we were never fed milk from multiple cows. That specific cow, it has a name, and every day they will take you there and you at least give something, you know, one banana, one little grass or something to the cow, and always my grandmother will be saying that this is the… you're like your mother, you're drinking milk from this cow, you must be always grateful to this cow, this kind of thing. Like there's a huge emotion between you and that cow because you're drinking its milk biologically and emotionally you're connected. You're not drinking dairy milk which is million cows and buffaloes and we don't know what else. So this has been the culture. Because of that, because we have drunk the milk of this cow, if we tomorrow want to eat the cow, that is considered cannibalism, not cow slaughter. I want you to understand this. It is deep-rooted in us because like our mother, this cow gave us milk. Tomorrow how to kill it and eat it up, this is considered cannibalism, and we said you never kill the cow. But they allowed other big animals to be killed also. And this methane gas you're talking, this is not a problem in India, this is United States problem. All the statistics and stuff, we just import it from the West and we think it's like this. In United States, how the cows are kept is a completely different matter. If you go into your cattle thing, it's something you must go and see, then you will not ask this question again. You must go and see, there will be 500,000 or 1 million cattle in one place. There'll be not a speck of green because so many animals moving, full of dung and everything. All in sheds, sometimes they move them out for exercise and again back. On the highway side, if they're there a kilometer away, the kind of sounds they're making, it will churn your stomach. Because they're intelligent enough to know that they're going to be slaughtered. You must see the screams of the cows. Once you go there, never again you will touch anything because basically it will churn up something within you. Why I'm saying this is, the cow is an animal where I have seen this personally, somebody that I knew. This is a lady, she named this cow as Lakshmi. It always was with her, 30 years that cow has become, it's very old but still with her. This lady died at 87. This cow came and just stood in front of the house, did not move from there, refused to eat. 2 days later, it just fell dead right there. And I've seen cows, if you are very attached to it and you're in some grief, you're not even with the cow is somewhere else, but it knows tears are flowing from the cow's eyes. So because it has human emotions, we said you cannot kill this because it is exhibiting human emotion. If you kill it, it amounts to cannibalism. When there is such a sensitivity, if you say, in front of my house you will slaughter, obviously there is going to be a problem. So in this part of the country, there is no such sentiment, so they did not pass the law. I think it's a very sensible thing to do, isn't it? But every doctor in the world is telling you, red meat is the source of every goddamn disease you have, so you better change. It is not a religion, it's a certain sense of humanity. Humanity finds expression in various kinds of aesthetics. This is our aesthetic.
What about the minorities living in those areas, Sadhguru?
They can eat whatever else they want.
But when it is imposed, the ban is imposed, they cannot.
Suppose I like to eat you. You denying me my food. I enjoy human flesh. How can you pass a law against it, I'm asking? Hello?
There is a law already that you cannot eat humans, but
there is already a law that you can't eat a cow.
The question is about passing of the law itself.
No, I'm saying, see, you cannot eat a human being. Why? Because it's a human being. Now, we drank the milk of the cow, we have shared emotions with the cow, we don't see it as separate, because in the villages, the cow lives in your house. There is no bond somewhere, it lives with you in the same house. So what is grown up with you, lived with you, shared life with you, you don't suddenly kill and eat it. Then you can as well eat your mother, what's the problem? I'm saying, what's the problem? It's good food. So I have taste for human flesh, how can you stop me from eating it? Don't start such an argument, it's not good. We see that when we eat something, we must eat that kind of food which in terms of species is furthest away from us. So plant life is definitely far away from us. If at all, if you must eat non-vegetarian or something which is not of, from plant life, you can eat fish. Fish, that's why we call it as, in South India we call it as jalapushpam. This means it's the flower in the water. Because it behaves like plant life in your body, because it's so further away from your own genetic code. If you eat something which is closer to your genetic code, for example, like mammals, if you eat a mammal which is so close to you, the complexity of that genetic code and its biome and everything doesn't work for us. This is a fundamental thing, that it'll dull your system, it'll complicate your own genetic codes, it'll get mixed up. And now everybody is talking about epigenetics. I mean, that's not my area, I don't know scientific knowledge, but we know what causes dullness in us, what causes alertness in us, what lowers our perception, what heightens our perception. This is something we are always conscious about. Before we put something, we are always looking in terms of not protein, vitamin like this. We are only thinking in terms of, if I consume this, will I become less receptive or more receptive? This is the only concern we have. Because in this life, whether you live for 100 years or 50 years, how receptive you are is how profound your life's experience is. So we are not looking at the length of our experience, but the profoundness of our experience. So in this concern, we are seeing that what we consume must be far away from us in genetic code. Does this have something to do with biome?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I always say the best thing that you can do for your health in terms of eating is to eat what your microbes thrive on. And that's essentially, it's largely plant-based food, mainly because of the fiber molecules that only the microbes can break down, and these polyphenol molecules and some of the micronutrients. So what you're saying is essentially just another non-scientific version of that same story, that we have this ancient life form. These microbes have been around for 3.5 billion years on the planet, and they thrive best on the kind of food items that are far away from our own, mammalian evolutionary step. I've actually never thought about this, like what you just said, but it fits exactly that.
That's great.
The consumption of red meat has been associated with a significant number of deaths globally due to its links to various chronic diseases. Here's a more detailed exploration, including estimates of mortality. Colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is a major public health concern worldwide. The Global Burden of Disease (GBD) study estimates that diets high in red meat contribute significantly to colorectal cancer deaths. The GBD 2019 study attributed approximately 36,000 deaths worldwide to diets high in red meat, specifically linked to colorectal cancer. Cardiovascular disease (CVD). Cardiovascular diseases, including heart disease and stroke, are the leading cause of death globally. Red meat consumption is a known risk factor due to its high saturated fat and cholesterol content. A study published in the Journal of American Medical Association (JAMA) found that a diet high in red and processed meats was associated with a 3% to 7% increased risk of death from CVD. The GBD study estimated that around 13,000 deaths in 2019 were attributable to diets high in red meat. Type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a chronic condition that can lead to serious complications, including heart disease, kidney failure, and amputations. According to the GBD study, diets high in red meat contribute to the burden of type 2 diabetes, with an estimated 225,000 deaths in 2019 attributable to high red meat consumption. Pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most deadly forms of cancer due to its typically late diagnosis and rapid progression. While the specific number of deaths attributable to red meat consumption is harder to pinpoint, the link between red meat and pancreatic cancer is significant enough to contribute to overall cancer mortality statistics. Stomach cancer. Stomach cancer, also known as gastric cancer, has been associated with diets high in processed meats. The GBD study reported that high red meat consumption is linked to approximately 50,000 stomach cancer deaths globally each year. Combining these estimates, it's evident that red meat consumption contributes to hundreds of thousands of deaths annually worldwide. The exact numbers can vary based on dietary habits, public health policies, and genetic predispositions in different regions. However, the significant mortality impact highlights the importance of dietary choices on public health. Recommendations. Health organizations, including the World Health Organization (WHO) and the American Heart Association (AHA), recommend moderating red meat consumption. They advocate for increased intake of plant-based foods, whole grains, and lean proteins to reduce the risk of these deadly diseases. Reducing red meat consumption can significantly lower the risk of chronic diseases and improve overall life expectancy. Shifting to a vegetarian or plant-based diet offers numerous benefits. It lowers the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and hypertension. Plant-based diets promote lower body mass index (BMI) and reduce obesity risk due to their higher fiber content and lower calorie density. Additionally, the higher fiber content supports healthy digestion. Environmentally, plant-based diets reduce greenhouse gas emissions, helping to preserve natural habitats and biodiversity. Ethically, reducing meat consumption decreases animal suffering and promotes human treatment while protecting wildlife habitats and supporting sustainable ecosystems. Economically, plant-based foods are often cheaper, leading to potential healthcare savings due to the lower risk of chronic diseases. Supporting plant-based agriculture also promotes local farming and more efficient resource use. Adopting a vegetarian or plant-based diet benefits health, the environment, animal welfare, and the economy.